Hello everyone and welcome to this video. So for today's reading, we're going to be taking a look at a message that Spirit has for you that you are not seeing, or maybe you're having trouble understanding. If you're just looking for some clarity on what Spirit is trying to tell you, then this is the reading for you. So we have 3 piles. The first pile with this, I believe it's peach moonstone. It's a big chunky thingy. And it has some like little flakes of almost mica in there. With the Waite tarot deck, we have the second pile with this blue calcite. And this is, I just believe it's called the Cat Tarot. And then this is the Flowerchild Tarot with this, wooden heart. Got this a really long time ago. It is made from like the wood from an olive tree or something like that. It was something to do with olives. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So you can choose whichever pile you feel most drawn to, and then I will meet you at your reading. All right, pile 1, if you chose the Waite deck or this peach moonstone, then this is your reading, all about what Spirit is trying to tell you and the signs that you might not be seeing. So before we get into the tarot, as per usual, we have your oracle cards. So we're going to jump right in and see what is up. All right, so the first card that you have is Ask for Help from Others. Then we have the Doberman Pinscher. We have Inner Power. By your own command, you brought yourself here. At this moment in life, you have nothing to fear. We have the 6 of Pentacles. And then we do have a song that I pulled. We have Amp by Movements. All right. So I think the first thing that's like really popping out to me is that you should not be afraid to lean on other people. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory with the ask for help from others. But there's almost something here about like self-perception, and that you have this idea of what strength and resilience is, and that you're kind of inflexible with that, or there is a certain amount of inflexibility. When you think of like Doberman Pinschers, it's Pinscher, right? I don't know. I mean, they're guard dogs, right? And people, they're like beautiful dogs, but they're pretty like stocky. They can be really scary. First and foremost, I'm pretty sure that they were working dogs, and then people, you know, crop their ears, crop their tail, to give them this sort of look. And there's something about like the way that asking for help from others and being able to lean on other people would conflict with the sense of self that you have created, that you have built up, the person that you see yourself as. And there's like this almost like it splits the idea of who you are in two. But with this, like wanting to be strong all on your own, it has created a lack of balance in your life. You probably are someone that is like fiercely independent, like you really don't want other people up in your shit, and you want to do everything maybe like by yourself or on your own terms. I wouldn't go as far as to say that you're a loner or anything like that. Maybe you are, but really I feel like this idea of strength comes through because you want to be strong for other people. Your idea of being strong for other people means like being able to uphold yourself completely and not needing anyone, not needing to depend on anyone. And it shirks like the very humanness, like human part of ourselves that like, that needs that, you know, that needs to rely on other people when sometimes too much has been levied on our shoulders. So I think that this is like, you've been probably feeling this like sort of off balance feeling for a while now, but because it like directly conflicts with who you see yourself as, you're more inclined to continue up with this like, I don't need anyone, like I can do everything myself, I don't want to lean on anyone. But there's just like a certain heaviness, like something is draining you, and it could be a job, like it could be day-to-day life. I really am getting less so that it's like a really terrible situation, and more so that it's just like your day-to-day life might be wearing on you, and you might just need someone to pick up the slack a little bit. This also could be in a relationship. Maybe like there's an imbalance in a relationship, because the Six of Pentacles like does kind of represent an equal give and take. So maybe you feel like you've been giving, but like your partner isn't really doing the same for you. And so that's really, really draining. Yeah, I mean, also, don't be afraid to ask for advice from other people. Don't be afraid to get other people's input on things. You don't have to like be strong all on your own. Like the idea of strength, we have this idea that like being strong is like, is very different from what it actually is, because realistically, the idea that you should be strong on your own is like not actually really representative of what strength is, because it takes more inner strength to open up and be vulnerable to other people than to just like say fuck it and close yourself off. If that makes sense, like that's what true resilience is opening yourself up, even though it's scary, and even though it could conflict with your sense of self, and even though you might also be opening yourself up to the, you know, potential that you could be getting hurt. That takes so much more strength than just like being like, fuck it, like I have to take care of everything myself. Because the idea of vulnerability, the idea of changing who I am, the idea of shedding this old sense of self and becoming someone new is scarier than if I just continue on with the same old type of thing. And this inner power card is kind of interesting to me, because I feel like in like, it kind of is I'm so sorry for all the noise outside. There's like a dual energy about it. If that makes sense, it's like you, by your own command, you brought yourself here. And like, I feel like you can take that multiple ways. It's like the actions that you have taken and your need to like stand on your own has brought yourself into a place where you feel so drained because you refuse to rely on anyone else. But at the same time, because it is like your actions that have put yourself in this spot, that means that you can also like take the necessary steps to move to a different place, you know? So like also being aware of the fact that if you feel stuck in this, if you feel like there aren't any more moves that you can make, that is definitely just like your perception. And we always have a choice to take different steps in a different direction. But overall, just with the Oracle cards, I think that Spirit has been trying to tell you that something is out of balance here, and it's that you refuse to ask for help, like you refuse to, or maybe you're just adverse to doing so. And I think that it's important for you to understand that in life, like everything is a give and take. So sometimes we're in a space where like it will nurture our soul like most to give to other people and be strong for them and be their rock. And sometimes what's going to nurture us most is to breathe out and take a moment and let ourselves rely on someone else for a change. And I think that you need to get more in that receptive energy and that feminine energy of relying on other people. Like, that's not to say like emotionally draining other people, but letting other people take care of us and accepting that that might be scary and that might involve vulnerability and it might be uncomfortable, but there is something on the other end of that that is really, really important to your soul's growth, is to come into balance. Yeah, I'm also getting like kind of heavy, like Libra vibes. Libra season could be significant. Actually, I think we're in Libra season. Because like Libra is like the scale. Libra is justice. Libra is that like equal give and take. You might be someone that like is always giving people the benefit of the doubt and letting them drain you and drain you and drain you like that. That's sort of the like shadow side of Libra, but there's a need for the scales to come into balance. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing with the Oracle cards. So I'm going to put these away and then we're going to hop into the tarot. All right, we're going to get into the tarot portion now and see what messages Spirit has in regards to the signs that they've been trying to send you, and etc., what you might be turning a blind eye to or just not seeing and understanding. So let's see what further clarification. Oh, right off the bat. And I did shuffle this deck a bunch right before, so it has been all shuffled up. What else, Spirit? Oh. The Five of Cups in reverse. All right, let's get some clarifiers and then we'll talk about it. Let's clarify the Five of Cups. Oh my gosh. Okay, I guess we can take these both. They're really flying out here. That kind of makes me think that this might be like a blockage that you've been dealing with for a long time, and you might be feeling like really, really stuck, and you're like, what am I supposed to change? This definitely could be something that like you're turning a blind eye to because you're feeling like a little bit insecure or because it's just uncomfortable. Like, that's kind of the biggest thing here, is I'm hearing like that this vulnerability, this openness, and this like being receptive instead of being more in that masculine energy is like really an uncomfortable thing for you to release, but it is a necessary release. And once you do like let go of it, things will just like start falling into place. And you're like, oh fuck, like I wish I had done this sooner. Let's get clarification for the Ten of Cups. Why is this Ten of Cups coming out? The Seven of Swords. And then the Empress. Oh, we got the High Priest. Oh yeah, definitely. And then on the bottom of the deck, the Wheel of Fortune, as well as the Three of Wands, the Four of Wands behind that. Okay. So you definitely could be like maybe more of a masculine person. I'm not gonna say like male or whatever the fuck, because whatever. If you're watching this video, I'm not gonna give you the whole spiel, you know. But you definitely could be like more of a masculine, or you just like typically exist more in that masculine energy. And so what Spirit is asking you to do is to really understand like the feminine side of yourself and to get more comfortable with that, because ultimately it's like yin and yang, going back to that balance, the like balance of femininity and masculinity, of being more active versus being more receptive. Like it's two sides of the same coin. And again, like with the Six of Pentacles, like it all kind of comes back to like the natural symbiosis, the natural like self-sustaining energetic relationship in the universe, if that makes sense. I think the Wheel of Fortune on the bottom of the deck comes through to say that there are times in your life, and I'm pretty sure I was talking about this earlier with the Oracle cards, but there are times in your life where you need to be there for people and you need to be that rock. And then there are times in your life where you need someone to be your rock. And neither one of those is like good or bad. Neither one of them is better than the other. And neither one of them represents who you are as a person. It feels like there is a very large part of your identity tangled up in being everything to everyone else, and then you neglect yourself. And you neglect that softness within yourself and the softness that comes with allowing yourself to be cared for by someone else. There could be wounds around that. If you are like a cis man or something like that, or you just grew up in like a way where like being soft was kind of demonized, or it wasn't really allowed, then that could be like a pretty deep wound that needs to be released. And maybe this is something that you've been working on for like a couple lifetimes now, like especially with the Wheel of Fortune. Like this could be a lot of like karmic residue that is built up. And so that's why this release over here, like with the Five of Cups in reverse, the Page of Swords, and then the Queen of Cups, like we have a lot of like really fucking feminine energy, which is very interesting contrast to like the Doberman, I feel, especially with it being like a guard dog. You know, you also could feel like your heart is something that you really, really have to guard. And you might have guarded it so heavily that you ended up locking it off from yourself as well. But like the Queen of Cups and the High Priestess here, insane, like intuitive, highly feminine, and like oftentimes really psychic energy. Like the High Priestess in tarot, her intuitive power is only like not rivaled, but like right behind her is the Queen of Cups. And they're like highly, highly feminine energies, especially with the Empress. Like this is just divine femininity right here. And this could have been something that you've been like really, really suppressing. It just does feel like there's such a call to get in touch with that feminine side of life and with your own feminine nature. And that it's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be receptive. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be gentle, not only with other people, but with yourself. And that will like allow you to really, really see things that you haven't been seeing before. I know this reading is like kind of, I forgot like what I really wanted to call it. I always do, but I think it was like what you're not seeing, and like the signs that you're not seeing from Spirit. Spirit is telling you that once you release this, so much will become clear, and that you're gonna see things from a whole new perspective. It just feels like there's a lot of light on the other end of this. I don't know, you just feel really tired. I think you're really tired. I think you're very tired of keeping this up, because I think that some part of you really knows that you kind of long to be taken care of, and long to be soft, and long to know what it's like to really be in touch with that feminine side of yourself and of life. But that you've kept up whatever else is going on, you kept it up for so long, and there's such an attachment to it, but there's also exhaustion coming through. But this Five of Cups in reverse, it's like once you release this, it's not even going to be like, there's nothing that you could even perceive as a loss. You're just kind of curious about what's next. Or you're kind of like, I can't believe I was, stuck in that old energy for so long. But I think this is really hard. Like, it's hard for you to trust. It's hard for you to trust, like, maybe what things will look like or who you will be if you're not existing as the person that you've come to know, which is someone who is like, I don't need anyone else. I'm really independent. I can take care of myself and everyone else, and I can do everything. I think that scares you, is not knowing. But there's so much more for you waiting on the other side. So yeah, ultimately, like, especially with this Three of Wands coming through, like, I do believe that this release is coming, and it might be a like uncomfortable release, but it's something that's been building up for a while. Like, I don't feel like it's like if the Tower was coming through or something like that, like, I would say that this is just like something that's gonna come through and just shake everything up. But I think it's just gonna be a moment where you're like, you breathe out and you're like, I can't do it anymore. And that's it. You know, and all of this anxiety, all of this mistrust, this stress, this like, I don't know, like, what is it going to look like? What are things going to look like? It's just going to kind of shed away almost quietly, and you're just going to step into this new sense of self. And I think you're going to rest. There's something about the rest that comes with letting other people be soft with you. And then like just being able to enjoy and take the day-to-day a little bit slower, especially with the Empress, like enjoying life in more of that slow moving, like sensual pace. Like it's Taurus, right? So just like enjoying, like taking a walk and like listening to the birds and feeling the sun and like sort of lazing about, not feeling such urgency all the time to do something, get something done, be productive. Like, that's another thing, like productivity. I feel like this is just going to shift your entire mindset about like your day-to-day, getting in touch with that femininity. But I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. So I'm just going to cut it off here. That is your reading. Those are the messages from Spirit, things that you might not have been seeing. Signs that you might not have been seeing. Pay attention to the signs that Spirit is currently sending you, because I feel like they're yelling at you a little bit. But yeah, don't be afraid to be receptive. Don't be afraid to be in that feminine energy, and then don't be afraid to let yourself rest, because I feel like you're someone who's like very, very tired, and you have been for a while. So hope you enjoyed, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Hello, pile number 2. If you chose the Cat Tarot or this blue calcite fucking thing, this orb, it's not an orb, it's like a palm stone, but my hands are really small, so it's like really big. I love this one. Definitely one of my favorite crystals. I love calcite. Anyways, this is your reading about, I guess, like, I don't know what I'm calling it, the signs that you're not seeing, what Spirit's trying to tell you, etc., etc. So just if you felt like Spirit has been trying to tell you something, or the universe has been trying to tell you something, but you're not really getting it, or maybe you're turning a blind eye to it, this is what this reading is about. So we're gonna set the tarot aside and hop into your oracle cards. So the first card you have is No Need to Worry. We have, oh gosh, we have, this is on the box, he's the one on the box, the Shiba Inu with Vigilant, Considerate, and Brave. We have Jude's Song with a reminder for even the most hopeless of lost cases. You can find peace within the strangest of places. We have the Five of Cups. And we have the Six of Cups. I only meant to get one, but 2 fell out. It's interesting, it's the 5 and the 6. And then we have your song, Breathe You In by Trophy Eyes. This might be hyper specific, but especially with this song here, you might be going through a breakup or going through some sort of change that, I don't know, there's like a kind of a vague feeling of loss. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like something ended, or something changed, shifted around, but like in a way that was very natural. Like a natural progression took place, but there was some sort of loss here. And I think that like whatever this was, whatever this progression, this change was, like you probably saw it coming. An example that I'll use is like I had a job a while ago that I hated. I hated the job. It was an incredibly toxic work environment. I used to cry before I went into work, and a couple months before I no longer worked there, I got this feeling and I was like, it's time for me to go. Like, I just feel like it's time for me to go. I feel like this chapter of my life is ending. Well, I didn't go because I was just too overwhelmed to look for jobs, and then they ended up letting me go. So either way, it was the same sort of end game. But when it happened, I was upset. You know, I was upset for a lot of reasons, but also because I didn't have a job, and I was like, oh, fuck. But I wasn't surprised, and I was like, I knew it was going to happen, and this feels like it was meant to happen. It just felt like a natural progression. It felt like the next, like this chapter was meant to close, you know, to be closed out. And I was very aware that whether or not I was going to take the initiative to do that and close that chapter out, it was going to happen like regardless. And it did, you know, even if it was like uncomfortable and upsetting, like it happened, that thing ended, other things, you know, came into my life. I got a new job, but it was like strange. It was like that strange feeling of loss. Not that I really was attached to the job, but it was, you know, it's just your schedule has been disrupted. And that's kind of what's happening like with this energy. I really don't know how to explain it, because like whatever happened, whatever closed out, it's not really that you're shocked. It's not that you're surprised. It's not that you didn't see it coming. Like it feels like you were very aware that this was going to happen, and then it did, and now you're just kind of sitting in the aftermath, and it's like this kind of aimless feeling of like being in the in-between. Like you're not really super upset because, like I said, like you're not blindsided, but your routine might be thrown off. Like if it was a job for you, or like someone that you spent a lot of time with, like that's kind of tough. You're adjusting to something new, but it just feels like, okay, Persephone, I don't know why you're sneezing, but it just feels like a natural progression has taken place, and you're kind of wondering, where do I go from here? There might be moments of like really strong grief, especially with this, like a reminder for even the most hopeless of lost cases. But I don't really think that you think that this is like a lost case or lost cause or anything like that. It just feels like you're kind of dealing with very natural emotions that might come up and arise in light of whatever this ending was. But I think the message that Spirit like really has for you is that right now you're in a transition period. And I think that really is an annoying thing to hear, because a lot of tarot readings, especially ones on the internet, are like that. It's like, well, you're in this in-between phase right now. You know, not everything is always happening in life. Like there's going to be times when life speeds up, and then there's going to be times when life slows down. And it's super obnoxious to hear that when you're at that point in your life, because you don't want things to be super slow unless you're someone that you really like that environment and stuff. But for the most part, like when things aren't happening and you are in a transition period and it feels like more of the same, a lot of the time it's because stuff is happening behind the scenes energetically and karmically that like we have no control over. And right now, like the energies are just kind of settling, and then they'll kick back up. But I think like there is this feeling of loss, but it's sort of like you knew that what was going to happen. Like you knew whatever had to go away or be closed out, like it was going to happen. And like I think that you know that there's something better on the other end of it, especially with this like 5 and 6. And with it being like the 5 and 6 of Cups, this very well could have been a breakup. Like I don't want to hone in on that, but it is it is cups, right? It's water, it's emotions. Yeah, so and if it was like you friends could be like, you know, texting you being like, oh my gosh, you're like, you okay? Or people could be calling you and checking up on you and you're like, yeah, I'm fine. And you really might be fine. You might seem more fine than people expect you to seem. If it was something like that, I think that you guys like, I think it was maybe not amicable, but like it was an ending where you both kind of agreed on it. And almost like I'm getting the thing where people for, you know, if people live with each other for a while and like they're together for a while and things just kind of slowly fade away and then they're just like roommates essentially, like that's kind of the vibe is like you're still like friendly with each other and stuff, but like that spark is gone. And that can apply to so many things. Like it can apply to like a relationship, a job, like a creative project, a place that you live. It just feels like a spark sort of died out kind of naturally and now you're on to the next thing. And you know that better things are coming, you know, but I think that there's also like a call to take it slow right now and not take this period of rest and this transitionary period for granted, because there's going to be a time in your life where things speed back up and you don't want to look back on this and be like, oh my God, I kind of miss how little stuff was happening. But yeah, I feel like I've rambled enough over the oracle cards, so we're going to hop into the tarot portion of your reading. Okie dokie. So I do want to say really quickly, something about a creative project came through. If there's something that you've been wanting to do creatively and you've been putting it off, definitely pick that up now. This in-between period, it feels like is a time for you to begin something that you would not have had time for prior. And that could like give, I don't know, that could turn into something really big if it's like a creative project or something you're like, I really want to start doing this, and like maybe it can be a secondary source of income, secondary stream of income, or I want to start this small business, or I want to write a book. It could turn into something like really big, or it could just be something like therapeutic for you that like kind of helps you reconnect with a side of yourself. But something about like a creative project is definitely coming through. Anyways, we're going to see what other messages Spirit has for you. Oh, Judgment. Oh, interesting. Something about like being alone and like being able to sit with your thoughts. Maybe you're someone that like does not really feel comfortable with yourself. Or is just a little bit out of touch with yourself. Like if you're always around people, you're always hanging out with people. This also could have been an ending with like a friendship or a friend group. But there's something about really understanding who you are and your goals and your aspirations. Yeah, there's definitely like the idea of like filling the space with other people so that you don't have to think or you don't have to be alone. I think that's something that you might heavily avoid or avoid in some capacity. Okie doke. We also have the 9 of Swords coming through, as well as the King of Cups. All right, so we can get some clarifiers, but interestingly enough, I feel like whatever most recently you lost is not really, like I said, you saw that coming. It wasn't really a surprise, but there is a loss from a while ago that has been lingering for a long time that you haven't dealt with. And so maybe like if it was like a relationship that you guys parted ways, but you really, really did not handle that breakup well. Maybe you saw yourself like marrying that person, or at the very least, like you did not see things ending in that capacity. Maybe you jumped into another relationship with someone that you kind of just settled for just because you could not deal with with all of the, I'm so sorry if you hear my dog, with all of the negative emotions and negative thoughts that lingered from that breakup. This could be, of course, like that could apply it to whatever, you know, whatever, but there is this like feeling of something from the past that is lingering that you never let yourself sit with. Instead, you just like kind of filled the space. And so now is the time where Spirit is asking you to address what you buried. And it's interesting, like the King of Cups and the Nine of Swords and Judgment, they're all sort of cards that, even though they exist in, I mean, it's swords and cups, but like they're all sort of cards that can revolve around like the self and in some capacity like the emotional realm. Even though swords is like about our thought processes and stuff, that definitely has an effect on how we feel. And the Nine of Swords is a very, very heavy card. It is that heavy mental energy that accompanies those really, really strong, oftentimes negative emotions. I mean, I don't want to say negative, but like, you know, it can be like a card about trauma as well. And being kept up at night, nightmares, stuff like that. If this was about a breakup, like you might be seeing this person in your dreams, or you might have nightmares about them, but either way, there's something that you did not reconcile with in the past because it was just too uncomfortable. And even though it will continue to be uncomfortable, like to sit with it, like that discomfort will lessen over time if you address these issues now and face them head on. And there's something about like, don't fill the space with people. Like you need to be alone. Like you need this solitary space to really reconnect with yourself and how you feel and process things that you have kind of refused to process. But Biscoff, no. We're gonna get some clarifiers now. Sorry about my cat. He's bad. All right, let's get, oh, okay. For the, okay. The Queen of Cups coming out. For the Nine of Swords, we have the Five of Pentacles. Yeah, the Five of Pentacles. And then to clarify Judgment, we have the Ace of Wands. Bottom of the deck is the Emperor. Beneath that is the Nine of Wands. And then behind that's the Moon. Yeah. So this is something that definitely like you've been dealing with for a while, I feel. The Emperor, especially on the bottom of the deck, very slow moving energy. Even though it's like representative of Aries, it's like, I mean, my guy in the Rider-Waite is on like a concrete throne, you know? So it is typically like a very, very slow moving energy. And while it does signify like strength and resilience and that sort of cardinal masculine energy, it can also signify like resistance and rigidity and inflexibility. And kind of ruling with like an iron fist in the capacity of like, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. Not really like there's no room to breathe. Not really giving yourself that emotional space. Yeah, so something happened here. Like, I'm not quite sure what. I can apply it to as many things as I want, but that's not really the point of this reading, is to know the specific situation. Something happened that made you feel insecure. Maybe someone shut you out of their life. Maybe it was really, really suddenly, because the Five of Pentacles can be like insecurity, feeling left out in the cold. Or it also could be like financial instability, maybe like growing up in poverty or growing up and not having like a lot of money. That can definitely cause recurring wounds. But regardless, it's something that you have not addressed. And it's interesting because like the first reading was also about like who we present ourselves to be versus like what we need to be, and how those two things can conflict with like the sense of self that we have created. And I think that this is like kind of similar in that like there's a part of yourself in what you're not addressing. And that's not to say that you're like fragmented or you're not a whole person, but like there is a piece of yourself that you are neglecting by not addressing this and by not healing from this, or by not taking it into consideration and sort of reconciling it with it. And there's like an emotional imbalance here because you're repressing this side of yourself. I mean, the King of Cups and clarified by the Queen of Cups, it's like these two sides of the same coin coming together. And I think that's like how you will feel. You will feel more complete once you sort of deal with this. This also could be like actual trauma that you might need to integrate. And that's like a no bisc off. This is a really hard process. But that does kind of like make me think that with the King of Cups and the Queen of Cups and the Nine of Swords, like there could have been a really traumatic event that instead of trying to, you know, heal from that, you just suppressed, which I'm not going to say anything about that because dealing with that, how do you even deal with it? I genuinely do not know. I know that integration is a thing. How does one do it? No clue. But if that's something that you've been kind of thinking about, like maybe you're experiencing symptoms and you're like, I can't function like this anymore. You could be getting into therapy. You could be getting into like trauma-informed therapy, like EMDR, something like that. And these two cards here could be coming out to say that you could actually be integrating that trauma. But yeah, there's something about addressing this thing. Again, what the thing is, not really sure. But there's a need to not shy away, not hide from it anymore. And then going back to that thing I said about like a creative pursuit, I feel like the Ace of Wands here, like you can use this as fuel for this fire and use the Ace of Wands to express yourself, express how you feel, and as like a therapeutic way to process things. Art is very therapeutic. Like it's the reason why like there's art therapy and stuff like that. You could try poetry, you could write songs, you could write a novel, you could work with your hands. Like there's so many different art forms and so many different ways that you could use those in a therapeutic nature. But yeah, I think that that's where I'm going to leave your reading. I feel like that was pretty self-explanatory. Explanatory. I don't know, it sounds weird now. But I hope that it made sense. I hope it resonated. I hope it helped. And I hope to see you in the next one. All right, pile number 3. If you chose the Flowerchild Tarot or this little heart here, then this is your reading all about the signs that Spirit is trying to send you and what you might not be seeing or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to call this video yet. We'll put the heart right over here. So before we get into the tarot, of course, we have your oracle cards. And I do think I got a few more on accident. Yeah, I meant to only get one of each, but a couple flew out for both of them, and I was just like, I'll take them. Why not? I usually don't put things back, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, the first card that we have is Yes. Ooh, very exciting. Then we have Romance. We have the Siberian Husky with Instinctual, Wild, and Mischievous. We have the Three of Cups. We have the King of Wands. We have offerings. Abundance lies in the heart that allows. Share more than expected and see love come around. Oh, wow. That's very interesting because that's like definitely Three of Cups energy. And then we have... Okay, interesting. We have Keeping Up by Microwave. Specifically these lyrics. I'm not going to read them, but I do encourage you to listen to this song. There's a lot of theme, like a lot of friendship themes coming through. Like with the Three of Cups is about like celebration, friendship. Interesting, very interesting. There could be like someone in your friend group that you're interested in. Or, I mean, yeah, that's kind of, it's interesting that, because it's like romance, but like also the Three of Cups, which those two things paired together, like sometimes can be read as like a third party situation, but I really don't feel like that. Like this feels like overall a really good energy. And I think what I'm getting is like, you might have a friend group, or you might recently have stepped into a friend group, or a friend group kind of grew. And it feels like there's like a really good vibe with those people. Like you like to hang out, you all have fun. This song is really interesting. Like it's maybe as of late, like you haven't been as involved. I almost want to get more cards. I don't know. I want to know more about this one. Let's see. I'm just gonna pick up a random little... Oh, here we go. Yeah, because like there's a lot of themes of friendship, but also like the not necessarily contrasting theme of romance. But maybe you've like taken, it definitely feels like someone caught feelings for someone, and now there's like space, if that makes sense. We're gonna get more information just because of course romance popped up, so I'm like, I need to get a million cards because I don't have any romance in my life, so I have to vicariously live through anyone that has even a semblance of it. But yeah, maybe someone caught feelings for someone and now they're like stepping away. There's like kind of a feeling of like, well, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, or I don't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable situation. And maybe like this person, if not you, kind of like keeps up this, because the Siberian Husky is like kind of funny to me because it's like instinctual, wild, mischievous, and they kind of look like wolves, but Huskies are like so goofy. So if that kind of sounds like your person, where they like kind of, they have this like idea of themselves where they're kind of mysterious and like, you know, they're like, well, I don't want to make it weird for anyone else. Like, this isn't right. Like, I'm going to have to step away. Like, I'm going to have to give you space, or give everyone space. And everyone else is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why are you being, like, you know, kind of goofy like that? Like, you can't take them seriously. Does that make any sense? We have an ace coming out. Yeah, this feels like someone that like tries to be like really like mysterious and like, ooh, you know, but you see through that sort of facade and you're like, I know what you are. You're just a puppy. You know, they think that they're a wolf, but they're just a puppy. Find meaning in what is simple. We have passion. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get one more. What's this? And we have duality. Oh yeah, this actually, okay. On the bottom of the deck, we have affection. I feel like this is someone, yeah. You guys have like been kind of in adjacent friend groups or in the same friend group for a while now, and like you've slowly started getting closer. And I think there's like some wondering about like what that's gonna mean for the dynamic for the rest of the people. And I think that this person that you're interested in, or on the other side of this, potentially you, but it feels like more so them, is kind of like there are reservations. They're like, well, I don't want to make it weird for anyone else. And like, what is that going to mean for how people perceive us? And you're kind of like, I don't really give a fuck. Why are you suddenly so, why do you care so much about how they feel about you? Like if they're really our friends, then they're not really going to care. Maybe you've been romantically involved for some time and you're just now like, well, I don't want to hide it anymore. And yeah, I think that you're like kind of laughing at this person because you're like, why the fuck are you, like, why do you suddenly have reservations? And it might be a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, you can't really take those reservations seriously, especially if you've like also been like telling people. If you have a side of the friend group that you're closer with, I feel like you've definitely divulged this information. So you already know that the reaction is like gonna be supportive, but this person has something that's holding them back and you're just kind of like rolling your eyes about it. But if you do have reservations as well, like maybe that's making you kind of doubt this. If you're like, why don't they want to like open up about this? I think that it's just that they might be a little bit nervous, I think that this person does like try and play it cool, does try and pretend like they're that fucking wolf. They're super like loner and independent, and they're not. First of all, like that's just not true. But I think that they're just a little bit nervous about how people view them, and I think that instead of letting you in on that in more of an explicit way, because I think you can tell, because they really care about what you think about them. I feel they are like creating excuses because they don't just want to admit that they're afraid that this might change how people perceive them, and it might change dynamics that seemed very concrete. Not anything to do with you, like not anything to do with like being ashamed of you or not wanting to like show off that you're in a relationship. It's just that they have almost an idea of themselves and an idea of how other people perceive them, and they're afraid of how that might change. Very interesting. I feel like self-perception has been a theme in all of these groups. But I think that like the signs that Spirit has been trying to show you, if you have been kind of nervous about this, it's like they're gonna come around. Like just give it time, give it space. Like definitely probably don't push this person, because I don't feel like that will end well. Give them the time to come into things on their own. Like it's not like they're holding back on purpose. It's not like they don't want to tell anyone or they want to hide you. It's just that they might need some time to come to terms with certain things, and probably are the kind of person where they feel like they need to take those steps on their own, if that makes sense. Like they don't like to be pushed into things, even if you're going to be right all along and you can go and be like, I told you so, I told you so. Like they want to know that they at least could make that decision on their own and make that choice on their own, if that makes sense. It's like how I used to, like, if people told me to listen to something like a band, I used to like just kind of avoid it for some reason, just because like I needed my own time to really take the music and listen to it, and I had to be interested in doing that on my own. My interest had to be piqued so that I could really sit with it. And even if it was like, oh, well, you should have like listened to them earlier, I told you they were so good. It's like, well, I had to do it on my own. I had to take that step on my own. I don't know if that makes sense as an analogy, but I feel like it's kind of similar. This is someone who wants to have that control and autonomy. Even if the path might seem clear to you, like they kind of have to take their own path to get there. And that might be something that you might just have to be okay with. Yeah, so I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory, even though I got some more cards. I feel like that was a little bit shorter, but I do want to jump into the tarot and see what other messages we can get to for you. So I'm going to put all of this away. All right, I put everything away, so we're gonna get into the tarot portion now and see what other messages Spirit has in regards to this, what you might not be seeing, and signs that they might have been trying to show you. I'm hungry. I think I'm hungry. I'm like 99% sure. Can never tell. But anyways, let's see what we got going on here. So Spirit, what other signs, messages have you been trying to show? Oh yeah, I do feel like you've been doubting this connection. This might have made you feel kind of hesitant. You're like, what? Oh wow. The Six of Pentacles and the High Priestess. Oh yeah, you're like, oh, they don't want to tell anyone. Like, do they really feel the same about me as I feel about them? Or, you know, even if it's not like sharing it with a friend group, like maybe it's like making something official or taking some next step that they seem a little hesitant. And it's not because they don't feel the same about you. It's just because they need to take this step in their own time. All right, we're gonna get some clarifiers. Let's clarify the High Priestess. We have the Page of Wands, the Six of Pentacles. Oh my gosh. That was way too many cards. Why is this Six of Pentacles coming out? The Four of Swords. And then the Two of Cups. The Fool. The bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Pentacles. And behind that, we have the Seven of Cups. Yeah, or maybe this was like making something official. Like I said, the exact details I'm not really gonna pour over, but it, you know, because take it as it resonates, it's a general reading on YouTube. But it feels like there's definitely some next step that there's some hesitancy about on their end, and you're like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? It does not mean anything more than this person just needs their own time to take that step. And they don't really seem like the kind of person who likes to be pushed into things. Like I said, they think that they're some like big bad wolf. And even if you see them as a puppy dog, you know, they still need to feel like they can keep up that image. And they do seem like someone who likes that independence and likes that ability to make decisions for themselves. Maybe they are adverse to relationships or like have had relationships in the past that were like a little controlling. So it's really important for them to maintain that control over their decisions, which is totally fair, you know? So definitely, like I said before, if you're feeling like egging this person on or pushing them in some direction, do not give them the time and space to make this decision on their own. I feel like I'm like lisping a little when I say decision. Oh God, I can't say it right anymore. Decision. Well, I can't do it anymore, but I really tried. Yeah. You guys do want the same things. Like, I really feel like the High Priestess and the Page of Wands, like there's a lot of passion here. And I feel like we did have passion come out before. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of attraction. There's like this magnetic energy drawing you two together. Like, this could also be like a really, really psychic connection. You guys could be dreaming about each other or have like downloads about each other. And so you might be over in the corner like, well, why? Like, I just want to be with you, and I want to be with you exactly how I want to be with you. And this person seems like they're dragging their feet. It's just because like, that's kind of who they are, you know? And they like having that time. They like having that space. They like thinking about things carefully, and they like feeling like they're in control. And that's not to say that this relationship isn't going to go anywhere. You know, this honestly could be a very divinely orchestrated connection with the Two of Cups and the High Priestess. But regardless of whether or not you feel like it is, there's definitely potential here for something not just passionate and not just like spiritually, you know, up there, but like something that is actually grounded and has potential to go somewhere, and for you to build something together with the Ace of Pentacles. But you just have to let this person kind of come to that conclusion on their own, even if you know it in your heart of hearts. So this new beginning, like this beginning between the two of you with this Two of Cups, it is coming. You just have to give them a little bit of space and a little bit of time to like nurture and tend to themselves so that they can come to that conclusion on their own. But yeah, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to keep rambling over and over again and talking in circles. So I do hope that this reading made sense. I hope it resonated, and I hope I will see you in the next one.